feel someone come and stand next to me, shoulder to shoulder. And then he puts that arm around me and this deep voice in my ear. And what I'm having a hard time processing, but I can't focus on it, is that there's someone standing next to me and I'm looking down kind of at my shoes. There are no shoes next to me. There is no pant legs next to me. There is not somebody standing next to me that I can see.
This is Touched by Heaven, everyday encounters with God. Those moments when heaven and earth collide and we see God. In these encounter stories with angels, divine intervention, prophetic dreams, visions, near-death experiences. I'm your host, Trapper Jack. Welcome to episode 400. Say what? 400? Well, then we should do something special. What should it be? Ponder. I follow the music, and I say what? I say this morning. You can see I'm getting better at doing this too. This morning, I was listening to my head. Music bubbles up in there, seemingly out of nowhere, and we know where that nowhere is. And it was always music referencing angels. I thought, all right, that kind of takes us back to the origin story of Touched by Heaven. So many of you found us looking for angel stories or contributing angel stories. So let's do that. Let's grab a bunch of them here. Some of them are simple, just an angel letting you know I'm here, to protection, to saving souls, saving lives. National and international stories have played out over time through these episodes. So let's go there. First stop, let's get in the car. Michelle's driving, so buckle up.
I, at times, can be a rather aggressive driver, not aggressive with my car, but just sort of infuriated and fussing and carrying on, because some days when you have a 3.5-hour commute home, it's just a little more than you can handle. And I was almost home and I pulled up to a stop sign and there was a green Subaru Foresters or Outbacks. And it was sitting in the way, so I beeped the horn and it wouldn't move. So I got out of the car and I saw this little old woman. And she was sitting in the car and I was so irritated. I said, "Ma'am, are you okay?" And she opened her window and I got hit with cigarette smoke, just cigarette smoke. And I says, "Are you okay?" After, I said it a little kinder and a little gentler. And she said, "I'm looking for this road." I said, "Ma'am, it's just around the corner. Go on and go." And so then she pulled out and she pulled over. And I zipped around real fast. And then it was like immediately something just took my heart and snapped it like you snap a rubber band. And I sat there and I said, "Gosh, darn it." And I threw my truck in reverse and I backed up to her. I says, "Ma'am, I don't know why I just came back to you, but for whatever reason, I was told I need to take you to this road." And she says, "I'd be so thankful if you did that." And I'm just fuming. And then all of a sudden, I don't know what the heck hit me. I started saying the Hail Mary. And then I was taken back. Like, why did I do this? So I had gotten to the road where the lady needed to turn. And it's a very flat, very long road. And it's a dirt road. So I got out of the car because she was driving so slow. I stood behind my truck and pointed, "This is where you need to turn." So she was starting to turn. I ran and got back in my truck, flipped it around. And as I looked down the road, I should have seen the dust or the car. There was nothing there. It was gone. And I sat in the middle of the road and said, "What in the world just happened here?" And then it was a voice that, his day, "You've just got to slow down." And I drove home, and the minute I hit my driveway, I threw the truck in park and just sat at the top of my driveway with my horses watching me and cried. Because I had to slow down.
You're bringing a lot of us to tears because we've all been there. You're just you're so ramped up in your own stuff, and how dare you be in my way right now?
Right?
Don't you know I'm irritated right now? And
I really sounded just like you did.
and for you to stop and go back, and you don't know why, other than that's the virtuous thing to do. That is the right thing, the most right thing you could do.
Right.
There are some who are listening and going, no, she turned, or she went this way. Explain how there's no way you don't see that car.
There was no way. It's the road that she turned on. She made a right-hand turn, and it's nothing but a long, straight, flat road, and it's a gravel road. So
that you can see from the road that you're still on.
Oh my God, yeah, absolutely. And there was nothing there. There was no car. There was no dust. There was nothing.
Even if she had turned around and gone the other or back, I don't know what, there's just no place not to be seen, right? It's just flat.
Right. She couldn't.
Yeah.
Right. She couldn't have gotten past me.
So what was it, 5 seconds, 10 seconds? And it's like, where'd she go?
Yeah. Yeah, literally. It was just incredible. And about a week later, I told one of my girlfriends about it. And she just point blank told me, she says, well, that was an angel, right? And I told her, I don't know what the hell it was. Excuse me, I didn't mean to say that.
And you will never forget that moment.
No, that is something that is so, just even telling you, now I could smell the cigarette smoke. I could see her glasses were so thick and she had so many wrinkles.
Wrinkles, thick glasses. Oh, and don't forget the cigarette. Nice effect. Costume department. Well, okay, let's continue with that thought, because Kelly was in the drugstore. She didn't have a lot of money, but she had to get this particular prescription for her daughter. Very, very important. She was very sick. And who does she run into?
I get to the Walgreens drugstore, and I'll be honest, I'm in a foul mood, And so I was in one of those, everybody get out of my way kind of mood. And I'm not normally like that. And I get in there, and there's this, for lack of a better term, there was this big African-American buxom woman in my way as I went to go down the aisle, because the pharmacy's toward the back, and she's got her carriage and she's big and there's no way to get around her. And I'm just kind of standing there glaring at her, tapping my foot. And I'm tiny. I'm only like 4'10" and a half. I'm a little thing. And I forget that I'm tiny, and I think I'm 10 feet tall. And I'm looking at her like, oh, come on, stop being rude, move, So I'm kind of like, trying to, without having to say anything. And finally she moves, and I kind of like bristle past her in a really rude way myself. And I finally get to the back of the pharmacy, and I put the order in, and they're like, hold on. And they punched up and everything. And they're like, oh, this isn't covered by your insurance. I'm like, what? And they're like, no. And mind you, she's on disability insurance, low income. And I'm like, well, all right. Well, how much for the little bottle of eye drops? She's like, $80. I'm like, what? And now I'm starting to cry. I'm like, I don't have that. And she needs this. Why would he order something that he knows my insurance? Now I'm getting really frustrated and flabbergasted. And I can sense there's a man behind me, but there's also someone behind him that I'm holding up the line at the counter. And I hear this woman say, don't worry about it. I'll help you. And I just didn't even look. I just put my hand back there and went, no, it's okay. I got it. It's okay. Thanks anyway. Didn't even look back at the two people. And I just said, well, can you call the doctor's office and see if they can prescribe anything else? I'll wait over there. So I go and I sit down, huffed into the chair, and I'm tapping my foot and I'm fuming. And I noticed that the voice I heard behind me was that big, buxom woman. She was like 6 feet. She was like a wall, a force to be reckoned with. And she was busty. She was just huge. So I'm still scowling and bouncing my foot, sitting in the chair, all frustrated. She finishes her thing and she comes up to me and she grabs my hand in both of hers, and I couldn't get away because, like I said, she could have been a quarterbacker. And she closes my hand, or like in a fist, and then covers hers. And she's yanking me, and she's making me look at her. She goes, look at me. Everything will be okay. And I'm like, oh, yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Don't worry. Yeah, I know. And I'm just trying to brush her off, to be honest. I'm trying to brush her off. I'm like, okay, crazy lady, get out of my face. I'm not in a good mood. I don't want to take it out on you. Get out of my face. And that's the vibe, the energy I'm shooting at this person. And she, again, squeezes my hand even harder. And she says, everything. You need to know this. You need to hear this. Everything will be okay. And I said, okay, fine, thanks. And she finally and my friend Alyssa is now sitting next to me. She finally lets go of my hand, which hurt because she squeezed it so tight. And she turns to walk away. And I open up my hand to kind of rub it because my fingernails kind of dug into my palm. And when I open up my hand, there's $2.20. There's $40 in my hand that she slipped in there that I didn't feel because she squeezed it so hard. And I thought, oh, hell no, I don't want her charity. So I jump up and I go running after her. And she's gone. She let go of my hand. She turned and walked away. I looked, I jumped up, I went. And I ran. I ran up and I ran. I didn't run up and down every aisle. You know how you can run across the back and look down each aisle?
Not someone you would be able to miss very easily.
Yeah, and I ran and looked down every aisle, ran to the front of the store, looked to see if she was at checkout, ran out of the store into the parking lot. She disappeared in 10 seconds or less. Poof, gone.
I didn't know angels
Gone.
could do that. Look at that's a nice look for an
I
angel.
wasn't thinking angel then. It came to me later. I'm a little slow on the uptake. So not anymore, but I was then. So then I go back into the store and I'm actually cursing under my breath. Yeah, I'm grumpy in it. And I go back to the back of the store and I sit back down next to my friend. She goes, oh, did you find her? I'm like, no, she's gone. She's like, what do you mean she's gone? You literally tore after her. I'm like, no kidding. She just disappeared. And it was my friend that went, oh, maybe she was an angel. And I looked at her and I went, get out of here. That don't happen. And she goes, well, yeah, it does.
And there was no way you were going to miss seeing her. There was no way.
No, you couldn't miss seeing her. So then right after that, the pharmacist calls me up. Your order's ready. And I'm like, okay, how much do I owe? Because we were supposed to try to get a cheaper version. She goes, oh, no, you're getting the original. It's all set. He just had to change the dosage and everything. And then your insurance kicked up and took it. I'm like, what? She goes, well, other than the $3 copay, no, you're all set. I'm like, you're kidding. She goes, no, have a good day. I'm like, thank you. I'm in the twilight zone again. Everything will be okay. And I come out of the store, I get and my friend says, well, what are you going to do with the $40? I'm like, I don't know. Do something nice with it? Donate it? I don't know. And so I will tell you, for one solid year, every time I needed money to pay a bill, or even when Hillary, while she was recovering in the hospital, wanted a sub and I didn't have the money, something else came through and I never had to touch that $40 for one full year.
You carried around that 40?
For a full year.
Are you kidding
and never
me?
needed it. Yep.
Wait a minute.
Never needed it.
To what degree are we talking about here? That you never needed cash?
Oh, no. I mean, if I needed cash, something else came up.
Okay, so you always had that 40 and whatever else, but you never had to hit the 40.
I never had to use it, even when I was completely broke. And I thought, oh, no, how am I going to pay for the kids' school trip tomorrow or whatever? All of a sudden, they'd get a birthday card from their aunt or uncle or whatever with the exact amount they needed.
You carry around the same 220s?
Yep.
Same 220s.
For one full year.
From the drugstore, let's walk down the street to the bigger building, the hospital. That's where we're going to find Cheryl. And Cheryl, through the years, just so many surgeries, so many health issues. A few years later, Cheryl needs more surgery, emergency surgery, and she's tired of surgeries. She's tired of life. Her marriage is on the rocks. She's fallen into a pit. She's getting more and more depressed. Fact is, she doesn't want to be alive anymore. So there she is in the hospital, and every day there's more x-rays and more thises and more that's, and tired of it. And this is the moment God chose.
This gentleman came in to my room, and he had the hospital outfit on. He said he was from X-ray, and he brought a wheelchair. And he looked at me, and he says to me, I'm going to take you for a walk. And he put me in the wheelchair, and he hooked up me to the machines that I needed. And he wheeled me down to a courtyard in the hospital that was outside. And he says, I need you to stay here just for a second. And I said, okay. And he left. And across the courtyard was a brick building. And I saw him open up the window, and he was like leaning out the window. And he started playing this song from Young and the Restless. It's Nadia's theme. And it was blasting. And after the song was over with, he closed the window. He came around and he got me back, and he says to me, whenever you hear this song, you think of me and everything will be okay. And I felt this incredible, undescribable peace. And he wheeled me back to my room, my hospital room. I went back into bed and he left and never said anything else. And so the next day when I had to go for x-rays, I asked about this x-ray technician. I says, can I see this guy? And they all looked at me like, who are you talking about? We don't even have anybody by that name that works here. But to this very day, whenever I am stressed or just a little bit depressed or whatever, and I play that song, there is an incredible peace that comes over me. And I just remember that day. And I really think that was my angel. That was an angel coming to me, knowing that I was giving up and they didn't want me to give up. And they gave me the strength that I needed to continue on my journey.
That's an incredible story.
I mean, it was just so cool. And, the fact that was really cool is not saying anything, just staring at me. And when the song was over, he closed the window and he came back and wheeled me back to my room. And that was it. That was the last time I ever physically saw him. But the impression and the feeling that I had, that peace, has always stayed with me.
Was that Nadia Comaneci? Was that around that same time?
I think it was I think that's where it came from.
Yeah.
Was her
As
time.
she was a
Gymnast, right? Yeah.
The young and the restless, the young and the listless, as I always call it. If there was a faith-based daytime drama, and there may well be, but if there was, this would be a great scene right here with Richard.
I was sitting at a table. I felt 2 taps on my right shoulder. I looked behind me. Nobody was there. And I went, oh, what?
This moment that created the gasp. I mean, the timing had to be so spectacularly perfect to pull this off.
I'm a uniform service provider. I've been at the same company for 19 years.
Little background on Richard. Growing up, not much in the faith department, not much of a father figure either.
I saw my father. I only saw him 10, 20 times in my life. It's been 22 years since I've seen him. And he did, one of the times I saw him, I was about 10 years old. He said, he told me that I had 2 older brothers from his first marriage. And again, I was intrigued. Well, what's their name? And he's like, Stephen and Derek. So I said, how old are they? When's the last time you've seen him? He hadn't seen him in a few years. And
you had no idea Dad was married before, or there were other kids? Nothing.
No, 10 years old. And I was like, okay. I have 2 older half brothers. What? So by the time I was in my early 20s, I did reach out to my father's mother, my grandmother, after not talking to her for almost 10 years. And again, I'm about 20 years old, and asked her about my half brothers, Stephen and Derek. And she was like, oh, I don't know. I haven't seen them in a long time, but I do know that they changed their last name to their adoptive stepfather. And I asked, well, do you know the name? She goes, Jaffreys. Stephen and Derek Jaffreys. And I was intrigued, like, this is before the internet. I couldn't just Google their names or look them up on Facebook. And it was always in the back burner of my mind, like that mystery, unsolved mystery. I started going to church in 1998 and just was overwhelmed with the atmosphere. Everyone's raising their hand and the music. I got baptized in August 2002 at 30 years old. And then in January, Friday the 13th of 2006, It dawned on me one day when I was separating my paperwork at work. I was sitting at a table. I felt 2 taps on my right shoulder. I looked behind me. Nobody was there. I looked at this guy, Steve. His last name was Jaffe, not Jaffries. And I went, oh, wait a second. He has the same body type as our father and the same shuffle. He can't stand still. Oh my gosh. And there was a few other guys in the room at the same time talking to him, and they had called out his name, Jaffe. And that's when I looked after the 2 taps on my right shoulder.
2 taps that and no one was there.
Nobody was behind me. The only, quote, supernatural thing that ever happened to me, and they weren't twitches or anything like that. They were 2 distinct taps. I realized that for 3 years, I had been working with him. My long-lost half-brother had been working with me. I couldn't believe it. My jaw hit the floor. He goes walking into the cafeteria. He goes to the soda or snack machine, puts in a bill. And I go, Steve, do you know who your father is? He goes, no, not really. I know he's got the same last name as you. I went, do you have any brothers? He goes, yeah, I got a brother, Derek. I went, Steve, I'm your brother. Get out of here. He said, my father was a state trooper. And I wrote, yeah, and a Marine in Vietnam. He went, oh my God. And I pointed up and I went, this is a divine appointment. Wow. Again, I was on fire at this time. I had just gotten baptized a few years earlier. I was very involved with ministries. Now, let me just say that I went out to do my route that day, and I came back to the plant to handshakes and hugs. One person was like, that should be on Oprah. But get this, Trapper. Not only did we work together, and I lived 31 miles away, so what are the odds of that? But out of 45 trucks parked in the back lot, we were parked next to each other. He was Route 37, I was Route 39. And out of 5 managers, 10 people on each team, we were on the same team. So we saw each other every week for meetings.
Crazy. I mean, just crazy. For 3 years, you're right there by each other, wondering about this guy.
And what's funny is he kind of annoyed me. I kind of didn't care for him. He was like I don't know. He was the type of guy that would take 20 minutes to get a cashier's check. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
He'd leave his keys in the locker all the time and misplace them. He was just, but I just, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. And then that tap that said, okay, it's time.
And right as somebody said his name, called out to him, Jaffe, tap, tap. Wow. I looked to my right and went, what? We didn't get together or anything. We weren't best friends, but we did get together one Christmas about 5 years ago for a selfie. We took a photo of each other, standing next to each other. And I made sure our father got that photo.
Why do you think it was important for God that you know?
God gives you the desires of your heart. And if you search, if you knock, he will open. It was that burning mystery I always had for over 20 years, and boom. And when I'm in a valley, I think of that moment that crystallized my faith in God, Jesus Christ, heaven, and angels.
Our next story is more than just a tap on the shoulder. It's a warning. And it's also a moment that Karen will never forget, nothing like it ever before or since. Everything seemed normal, just walking home from the train station.
Well, it was the strangest thing. So I was walking home from the train station one day, and I did this every day. It wasn't anything unusual. It was kind of dusk, and as I was walking along one side of the street, I noticed 3 young men walking down the other side of the street, and they had something really big covered in a sheet. So I looked at them and really kind of dismissed them, and then I had a thought in my head that wasn't mine. So I don't know if that makes sense to you, because it was certainly the same. If I have a thought in my head, it was that same voice, but the thought came out of nowhere. It wasn't my thought, and it just said to me, "When they drop that, make sure you look the other way." And I was like, that was a bit weird, but yeah, fair enough. So I kind of didn't acknowledge it, because why would you really?
Yeah. And when you say it was big, when you give us some parameters here, this thing that was covered in a sheet.
my first thought was maybe they've got someone's TV or like a very large TV. It's going back a while. But yeah, the three of them, it was requiring three of them to carry it.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Yeah. So
and you're
anyway,
getting this message if they drop this thing, don't look.
Yeah, look the other way.
Okay.
It's very important apparently, and I was like, okay. So I I ignored it, and then the message came through again. It's like, I mean it. It's really important. Like when they drop it, you look the other way. And so out loud, I go, yeah, okay, I hear you. I'll look the other way. And in my head, it came back at me. And what followed was a couple of minutes as we were, because, you know, they were a little bit ahead of me and they were walking toward me and I was walking toward them on the other side of the road. What followed was a couple of really strange minutes of me really talking to this voice in my head. And it was quite funny. Like, it was joking with me. It was, you know, it kept repeating that I needed to look the other way. And finally I was like, I'm not stupid. I'll look the other way. Like, you can stop telling me. It's fine. I get it.
Meanwhile, now they're on the other side of the street, walking your way in your opposite. So you're you've seen them from quite a ways down then, obviously, for this to transpire over a couple of minutes or whatever. Yeah,
that's right. So it's a couple of minutes of walking. And so the voice says to me, it's like, look the other way, look the other way, look the other way. And I'm like, I hear you. It's like, seriously, I'll look the other way. And so it was like, I guess the reason I think the story is not that exciting is because at no point was it scary. And it occurred to me that was because I was laughing and joking like a crazy person with this voice in my head.
Which I assume had never happened before?
No. But bizarrely, apparently I thought that like I was just doing that as if that was a completely normal thing to do. Mm-hmm. Which is odd. Like, I don't know why I didn't go, wow, maybe you're going crazy. But so I had quite a nice time laughing and joking with this voice. And then all of a sudden, the voice said, I'm going to stop talking now. Get ready. They're going to drop it now. Remember, it's very important you look the other way. And so I took another step or two, and then I heard bang. And they were to my right. So I immediately looked to my left, and I felt like an idiot because I was craning my neck and I'm looking for this imaginary sound that clearly had happened, you know, on the other side of the road from me. And I was basically opposite them at the time that it happened. So I'm looking and I'm carefully looking. And then I decided I'd probably looked long enough. And so I sort of turned. I didn't look at them at all. I just sort of turned to my head a little bit and started walking forward again. And not long after I started walking forward, I heard one of the men say, no, man, it's okay. She looked the other way. And then I looked toward them, and so one of them had actually been headed in my direction and had his back turned to me now and was walking back toward the group of men. And they just kept going on their way and I kept going on mine. And then I remembered the voice in my head and I went to say, oh, my goodness, thank you. But there was nothing. Like, there was no voice. It was gone.
Obviously, one of them was concerned that you saw whatever, because he's coming your way, and then he turns around. This is weird.
And then one of the other ones.
What the heck is this? What? I mean, really, honest to God.
I have no idea.
So when they dropped it, it would seem that the sheet came off of it, whatever it was, because otherwise there would be no concern that you would see whatever this thing was. So you would think maybe the sheet came off, they put the sheet back on. No, don't worry, she's looking the other way. I mean, this is just weird. You have no idea.
Super weird. And not like I literally didn't see it because it had been sort of impressed on me so diligently that it was very important that I looked the other way. And I guess what surprised me the most was that the guy used the same words. No, it's okay. She looked the other way. And the words that the voice had been using, it's very important. You look the other way, look the other way. And so it was bizarre to me that he also used the same words. And that he'd noticed. So obviously one of them had noticed me looking the other way while I was diligently checking out nothing and was able to communicate that.
But in this divine intervention thing, this angelic voice, whatever you were here, do you assume angel? What do you assume?
I don't know. I've only really been a Christian for about a year. I'm super new at this, and this happened quite some time ago. Okay. So I just kind of put it down to God. So whether that would be an angel or whether it was God or whether I don't know.
Okay.
And because it was my own voice in my head that I could hear, so I couldn't even say like it felt male or female or young or old, or it was just this quite amusing.
But it was just this one moment where you're having this conversation with this being that, you like you say, you don't know if it's man or woman, but something is saying to you. It just keeps repeating that same phrase. And,
and in the funniest ways.
Yeah, in the funniest ways.
Making a song out of "Look the Other Way," joking with me when I'm telling it to stop it because I understand I've got the message.
Singing
really
it to
just
you,
maintaining that,
even as a musical tune.
Yeah, just it was quite a lovely interaction. It didn't occur to me for a moment that it was like very, very strange until afterward.
But the thing is, without question, the guy walking towards you that was turned around potentially could have caused you physical harm.
Yes. Yeah. I'm assuming the reason that he was coming toward me was that he was going to have some kind of interaction with me that was stopped because his friend, he informed him that I had in fact looked the other way. Yeah.
I don't know if that was going to be the end of your life or if that was going to be something very harmful physically that would have caused you, who knows? I don't know, but that voice saved you from harm. Saved you from harm.
Yeah.
It changed the outcome. It ultimately changed the outcome. Interesting. Of course, the other part there, that little grenade that you threw in during part of this conversation was, well, yeah, a year ago I became a Christian. So we go back to that. And I ask you, what were you before and what happened to bring you to the Christian side?
I was always quite interested, I guess. Well, I would have called myself spiritual before, I guess, but didn't really have any understanding of Jesus, or I didn't go to church or anything like that. And then we just had some really challenging times. And my husband and I were talking about how we were going to get through these times, and he said, I just think we should go to church. And I said, okay. And it's because it sounded like a way that we could really get, I guess, just get some help. And what we found was just a lovely church who took us through the Christianity Explored course and who answered all of our questions. And our life today is just very, very different from where it was, a little over a year ago, just because we accepted Jesus Christ and we now know God, and it's made just the most amazing difference. And I'm looking forward to sort of keeping on the journey and getting to know Christ more and more as I sort of work on that relationship. I think you're inspiring people, and you're really lighting up the flame in people by the stories that you share and by the way that you talk about those stories and the way that you interview people. And so thank you for all of your work.
God bless you. We are going to come to Australia sometime. I know it. We haven't been there yet, but
Great.
I think it would be absolutely wonderful. Nobody really eats that Vegemite stuff, do they?
Oh, it's the best. The problem is everyone eats it wrong. So you have to eat it with lots and lots of hot toast, piping hot toast, lots of butter, and just like a smidgen of Vegemite, just smeared, just a tiny, tiny little bit. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I mispronounced it. Vegemite.
It's super salty, so it's just like a savory breakfast. And we have it for breakfast. We just pop it on some hot toast with lots of butter, and Bob's your uncle.
What's that last phrase? Say that again.
Bob's your uncle.
Bob's your uncle, which means it's really good.
Everything's good.
Yeah, good old Bob. This is great. I love hearing this stuff. I love hearing this stuff. This is awesome. All right, there's Karen Riddle. And when she drops the Vegemite, look the other way. Just look the other way. I'm just saying, it's a mess. Just look the other way. Well, now that we're all suitably hungry, you need to hear Teresa's story. She was on the road with a friend.
And we were in a Chicago, I think, diner, for lack of a better term. It was kind of a fun, maybe not far from Michigan Avenue, and kind of had a diner feel to it. And we were sitting there just cutting up, having a good time, talking. And I'm very careful now not to laugh while you eat. So I had a French fry in my mouth and I just started laughing and inhaled gasping for air and out of laughter because we were cutting up. And literally that entire French fry got stuck in my throat to where I truly was choking. And, you know, people, until you've actually experienced choking, life-threatening choking, you know, you can get something that goes down the wrong way or kind of coughing and choking, but truly choking, Heimlich maneuver choking, all pride goes out the window. It is, you will do anything at that point to have this fixed. And what's interesting to me, I stand up at this point, I stand up and I'm waving my arms in this booth in the diner. Trapper, not one person looked at me, changed their direction. It was like it was frozen in time. Everyone sat still. Everything was in slow motion. Everything froze in time. And my work colleague is very vocal. She's not shy. She would have jumped up and helped me or started screaming for help or something. Nothing happened. No one moved. And here I am standing up, waving my arms. As I'm waving my arms, I feel someone come and stand next to me, shoulder to shoulder. So we're lined up shoulder to shoulder, not face to face, shoulder to shoulder.
Like side by side?
Side by side.
Like looking in the same direction type feeling.
Correct.
Okay.
Looking the same direction, your shoulders, one shoulder is touching, and then he puts that arm around me and grabs the other shoulder very tightly. So he's got his arm around me, standing side by side, looking the same direction. And this deep voice in my ear says, "You're going to be fine. Calm down. You have a little bit of air. If you stop breathing so heavy, you can make this work, and have a drink of water." Now, while this is being said to me, nobody is moving. No, there's no clamoring. There's nobody else coming over to help. There's not the manager jumping up. Nobody's doing anything except I can hear this voice. But what I can't process, there's multiple things going on. And what I'm having a hard time processing, but I can't focus on it, is that there's someone standing next to me and I'm looking down kind of at my shoes, listening. I'm trying to calm down and I'm listening. There are no shoes next to me. There is no pant legs next to me. There is not somebody standing next to me as I'm looking at my shoes. It is all empty space. There's not an actual person that I can see standing next to me, but the arm is around me, the voice is in my ear, and I pick up my water and I sip on the straw and slowly do I feel the movement of the French fry. And then I sip a little bit more and it's coming down my throat and burning and it hurts. And so it's a process. And the entire time I feel this arm around me. So as it starts to go down and I calm down and now I can breathe and I sit down to just collect myself and I look, once I've sat down, I look to where this person should be standing. No one's there. I look at my work colleague and everything unfreezes and goes back to normal. People are talking, dishes are clinking, silverware, orders being taken. No one has acknowledged that any of this has happened to me. Not one person's coming over, rushing over, saying, "Are you okay? What's going on?" If this person was literally a person there, they would have stayed. They would have checked on me. They would have said, "Are you okay? You feel better now? Do you need anything else?" They would have had a conversation eyeball to eyeball with me. But they didn't need to because I was fine. So when I looked at her and said, "What just happened?" she had an incredibly difficult time explaining it. She said, "I could not move. I was frozen and I knew he was handling it." So she could see somebody. She could see a him standing next to me because she needed to see him. I didn't need to see him. I experienced him, but she needed to see him so that she wouldn't get up and rush to go get somebody and interrupt what was happening. And nobody in that entire diner came to me to check on me or any comment of anything that ever happened to me. No one even acknowledged it, except she was frozen and could see him standing there making me calm down and making it okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're waving. You're trying to attract somebody. Nothing.
They
were frozen out. They were frozen out. Again, your friend experiencing something that they weren't supposed to do anything. Somehow this is being this is when God does whatever God wants to do, and when he just takes over the scene, he takes over the scene. That's just remarkable.
Yeah. Yeah. And I truly believe that God appears and uses people, and sends his angels to appear only to those who have to see them. But as I'm looking down and trying to breathe, I can't process the fact that there are no shoes, there are no pant legs, there's nobody standing next to me, but there is. So, I see that as such a blessing to be able to experience the fact that we do have God in our presence, and he sends his angels when needed, so many more times than we even ever know.
The only thing he didn't say was, fear not, as most angels do in the Bible. In his own way, he was saying, fear not,
Truly, God is all around us if we choose to see him.
And how is it that some of us can see the unseen? For Melanie, it seems to be a case where she was allowed to see in order to prepare her for what was to be seen later in the spiritual world of spiritual warfare.
Well, my first experience was when we were leaving Ohio and heading to Arkansas. And at that time, you had to use this old road because the expressway wasn't complete yet. And it had all of this mountain, cliffy hillside with rocks. And it was about 5 a.m. And my husband was driving. And all of a sudden, I threw my arms up and I went, look out. And when I put my arms down, there was this huge, majestic angel holding up the rocks. And when we passed, all the rocks fell.
Wow. Gee.
It was like I was in the passenger side. So all the rocks and things were on my right. And I saw the rocks starting to fall. And this road was known for rocks to fall. And they weren't just little rocks, they were big boulders. And that's why I yelled out, look out, and threw my arms up. And then I looked again, and there was this majestic angel. I mean, massive angel. I mean, it was 20 feet tall, maybe. I mean, it was way taller than the car we were in, probably twice the size of the car at least, and held their arms and the wingspan out. And that's what was holding the rocks back until we passed.
And the driver was who?
My husband.
Did he see any rocks falling?
He saw the rocks fall after we passed, but he didn't see the angel. He didn't see the massive arms spread out, nothing. We would have been crushed by those rocks.
Yeah.
And then this angel just stopped them, held them up till we passed.
Is this the first kind of experience you ever had like that?
Yes.
Have you seen angels before?
Not before that time, but I've had other experiences after.
Really? This was like the beginning of something?
Well, during that time, I was going through a huge spiritual warfare against some demonic forms with my daughter. She was young, and the neighbor across the street from where we lived was a witch, and she was trying to capture my daughter into it. And I was doing a lot of heavy-duty spiritual warfare, praying to place a hedge of protection around her at all times.
How long ago was this?
Well, she was born in 1984. This woman had initial contact with her when she was 6 weeks old. And it's because she was taking care of all of the kids for the PTA. When I picked her up and I changed her diaper, I found blood in her diaper. I was not happy. And I never spoke to the woman again.
You thought she was doing something?
Yes.
Okay.
And then I found out that she was a witch. And that came from other neighbors where she had told them that. Just all kinds of strange things kept happening. I was doing some very heavy duty praying during that time frame. And I did a lot of walking around the property and praying the property lines. I was in constant prayer almost.
Yeah. Did your daughter have issues that you felt were related to this?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. She was difficult. When she wanted something, she made it happen. We were just floored. So there were times when we would go and talk, like my husband and I would go out and take a drive without her and to talk about, our next spiritual step in regards to her. When we got back, she would tell us almost word for word what we said in the car. She also had a lot of physical strength. Like I went into her, every night I prayed with her, but she didn't like that. This one day I started praying with her. Well, I should say praying over her while I was in the bedroom with her. And she took her arm and hit me, and it knocked me into the wall of that bedroom and put dents in that wall.
How old was she?
She was like 4. I mean, 4-year-old shouldn't have that kind of strength. This one time I was in there praying with her, like nap time, bedtime, that kind of thing. And I looked down at her, and she just had this really beautiful glow about her. And I said, Mama loves you. And she came back and she said, I love you too. And then I said, and Jesus loves you. And she came back at me and said, I don't need anybody else in me. I've got enough people in me. In that kind of voice. Talk about scaring the crap out of me. I went to the church and asked for help.
And what church did you belong to at the time?
I belonged to the chapel. You know the chapel, it's a mega church there at the University of Akron area.
Mm-hmm.
They opted to do an exorcism. When it was over, she looked up at me and she said, I love you, Mama. Like she'd never said that before. And I looked back down at her and I said, I love you too. And Jesus loves you. And she didn't say anything. And I said, would you like to ask Jesus into your heart? And she said, yes. I mean, they had told me in advance that that's what I needed to try to get her to accept Christ as soon as it was over, to fill her with Christ so that the demons could not come back. So that's what we did. I mean, and she did. And she prayed the prayer to ask Christ into her life. And we really haven't had any problems since with her.
Wow.
So, yeah. And during that time frame, I'd had a hip replacement. And we had to bring our bed down to the main floor. So we were asleep, my husband and I. We were awoke by flashes of light. We both just kind of looked where the flashes were coming from, and we saw this. It wasn't like an angelic angel, but you knew it was an angelic angel, but it looked like a warrior angelic angel. I mean, it was dressed to the hilt in armor. The sword was going through our front door. You could see these clashes of light through the door. I mean, it was like
like the door wasn't there, but it was there. I just knew that that angel was battling some kind of demonic force on the other side of that door. And they won. Because
You're saying the good guys won.
the good guys won, yeah.
Do you think it was Michael?
It might have been, because I'll tell you, compared to the angel that held up the rocks, this dude was huge.
Could you and your husband both see it?
Yeah, we both could see it.
How soon after that did the exorcism take place?
It was November of 1990.
So just a couple of months before the exorcism, this archangel, whatever you had there, this Michael, battling.
Battling, yeah. It's one thing that I saw it, but I turned to him and I said, "Did you see that?" He goes, "I did see that."
You've seen the good angels. Have you seen the fallen?
I have seen images, especially during that huge warfare that was going on for my daughter. I have seen dark images, but nothing I could actually define.
You know, a lot of people don't know this world exists. So when you tell them this, they roll their eyes or what?
Yeah, pretty much. I don't share it a lot just because most people think you're nuts.
It's very real, isn't it? It's very real. This
Yes, it's real.
This battle for souls is very, very real. I always say we're on this giant chessboard and we have absolutely no idea how the influences are out there around us.
I have no doubt in my mind that there are these demonic spirits that are constantly battling for things.
Yeah.
And we always have to be on our guard.
So you have this battle at the front door. A few months later, you have the exorcism. You now have a changed child.
The rocks came first, and then the battle at the front door, and then the exorcism in November.
And that you were protected, obviously. So they're kind of setting you up for what's to come. God is kind of helping you along, kind of paving a road, if you will.
He's giving me those baby steps because I don't know that I would have been able to handle my daughter doing the things that she did at that later date.
Yeah.
Because that was just knock you over practically.
Seeing the unseen, saving souls. And of course, they're saving lives, as is true with our two truck drivers, mother and daughter truck drivers, and the saving of lives. Mom is Kathy.
Yes.
Katie is daughter.
Yes.
Give me the headline of this episode. What would it be?
Jesus, take the wheel. No, I'm just kidding.
It could be Jesus take the wheel. Could be. Okay. And you guys were in which vehicle?
Well, we were in our semi-truck. That was a Kenworth T680. And we were team driving. T680? Yeah.
You were team driving.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
You are trucking women.
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
A mother-daughter trucking team.
Yes. We had picked up a load. We were in Texas. We were headed up Highway 75. We got up close, almost to Denison, which is close to the border of Oklahoma and Texas. I was supposed to be sleeping. I had just settled down in my bunk. Kate was driving. All of a sudden, she was praying out loud. And I'm like, hey, are we okay? And mind you, it was 7:30 at night and it was dusk. Okay. And she didn't respond when I asked her if we were okay. All of a sudden we hit something and I almost hit the roof of the cab, and because I was in the top bunk, and I'm asking her, hey, is everything okay? Bouncing up and down. Yeah, she's praying out loud and she's not responding to me. So I just jumped in there and I'm praying out loud. I didn't dare move out of bed. I can let Kate take over from there because she was the one holding the steering wheel. It was an 8-foot iron I-beam that was about 8 inches by 6 inches, 8 to 9 foot long.
And what is an I-beam?
It's a piece of structural steel.
And where would one find an I-beam?
Normally not in the middle of the road. Well,
and that's where you found one?
Yes. They use them to construct the big buildings and stuff in big cities, like the skyscrapers. It was straight across all the way to the painted line, the dotted yellow line.
It's
perpendicular.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. It was across the right side or the passenger side of the road. There was literally no way to avoid this thing.
We assume it fell off a truck? What is this?
Yes, probably a trailer. It would have been a flatbed. Yeah, some kind of a flatbed.
So when you see it, that's when you started praying, Katie?
Yes. Yes. Just past that was an opening on the side of the road, and then the bridge, which had a fenced and barriered, wall on it. Concrete wall.
You're approaching a bridge.
Yes. Yes. And then there is about 12 to 20, I have no idea how many, train tracks down a very steep, very deep gully that the bridge is going over. Yeah, it wasn't over water. It was over train tracks and dirt. If I had gone that way, we would have been on active train tracks, stuck there. So the only spot I had was the shoulder in the center of the bridge. It takes a truck to a quarter of a mile minimum to stop.
Okay, and you have to stop. Why? I mean, you've hit this thing. Are you over it? Totally over it?
Yep, it punched holes. I lost my passenger side steer tire. I lost passenger side drive tire. And then I've lost a tandem tire.
Obviously, while you're driving, you don't know what just happened. You don't know which tires and what's blowing. All you know is what?
Right.
You're losing control. What do you know?
She told me later that it felt like somebody had put their hands on the steering wheel and was holding the steering wheel, helping her keep it steady while she was trying to get the truck stopped.
Explain that, Katie.
I've had one steer tire pop before, and it pulls really hard to that direction. And that's why when they lose the steer tire, some people end up flipping their truck or, laying it over. Or wrecking. And when I lost 3 tires on one side, and there were 7 tires total. We lost 3, and 1 was punched and compromised.
Okay.
But it still had air.
So, in other words, this thing's going somewhere here. This is all bad news. As you said, 1 tire would be enough to even flip a truck.
Yes.
Okay, Katie, let's go back to you're driving this thing. You've got tires out. You don't even know. You don't know what's going on. But explain your experience of controlling the truck when it should have been flipping all over the place.
When I started praying, it should have been pulling hard into the bridge wall and possibly down into the train tracks. I honestly felt like there were hands on the steering wheel because I did not have to try hard at all. I was not controlling that truck. I don't know why, I had hands on the steering wheel. I was barely even holding on to it. We gently made it over into or onto the shoulder in the middle of a bridge. And we were 18 inches off of the wall from the side of the truck, There's a chain link fence on top of the concrete barrier of a wall on the bridge. That way people can't go and jump off of it.
But you're that close to the edge. You're right there.
Yeah. I've actually got pictures of this, and you can see that the truck is actually 18 inches off of the wall of the bridge, and that the driver's side of the truck is sitting on the white line, perfectly parallel, 18 inches off the wall.
Okay.
When she hit the I-beam, she did not hit anything else. It was smooth as silk, parking in the middle of the bridge on the shoulder.
Perfectly parked.
Yep.
Just parallel to the wall on the right side,
Yep.
18 inches off.
Yes.
Smooth as silk, you say?
Yes. I felt something take that wheel after I started praying and holding it as steady as... What's a good metaphor for that?
We're looking for a metaphor for steady. Steady as she goes. Steady.
But most drivers would have hit the wall. Most drivers would have gone over the wall.
The scenario should have been you should have been through that wall and down on the tracks.
Yeah.
So when everything comes to and you slowly get out of the cab and all of that kind of stuff, and you start looking at the damage, does it hit you at that moment? There's no way I control. I mean, you kind of go through that process of looking at what just happened. And at what point did you start talking about it, Katie, to Kathy about what you felt?
Very next morning, when I actually got to see the damage, I got out and looked around at the damage and everything. And I'm like, there is no way that happened, because I couldn't feel any resistance anywhere. I didn't turn the wheel exactly. So it's not like I was trying to turn it and make it go anywhere it wasn't going. So I didn't feel any resistance that I should have, steering that truck with all of those tires missing. I had, I sat there and thought about it. We just started talking about it. I'm like, there is no way. And when I, started praying, I really felt something grab the wheel and steer us to where we needed to be.
Even before you hit the beam?
Yeah.
Do you assume angel, by the way?
Assume that an angel grabbed the wheel?
Yeah. Or is it Jesus? Or I know it doesn't matter. It's God. But I mean, what's your, whose hands?
For me, I just imagined, angels at all four corners of the truck, making sure it needs to go or making sure it goes where it needs to go. But to be honest, Jesus take the wheel is very accurate, I think, in my interpretation of the way it felt. To be perfectly honest, it doesn't matter to me whether it was God, Jesus, or the angels. It was all directed by God. It was a very interesting experience because, there was no jerking. There was no... It could have been so bad. It's like the straight and narrow path is the path to salvation, whereas all of these other paths are wide and easy, but they don't go to where you want to go. We ended up exactly where we needed to be.
When she was telling you that, Mom?
With both of us praying, that's normal. When you understand and believe that's just a normal part of the event.
It's interesting that you heard your daughter praying. You asked, of course, what's going on. She continues praying, and you didn't go into, did you hear me? I said, what's going, you trusted that your daughter was praying about something pretty important, that you joined her.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You guys are connected. I mean, to each other, but also to upstairs. Obviously, this is just another day for you in that regard, in a very unusual circumstance with the truck. But this is your day. This is how you live. This is how you operate.
Yes, that's definitely not the first, and that's definitely not the last, and it probably won't ever be.
What's our takeaway in all this? I'll ask you first, Kathy. What's sum it up? What's our takeaway?
Life is like a jigsaw puzzle. We may have 2 or 3 pieces in our hand, and we have no idea, what it is we need to do. But God has the entire puzzle, and He knows every single piece. And we really just need to ask Him what we need to do, what He wants us to do, and follow those directions.
I like that. Puzzle pieces, figuring it all out. Sometimes it just takes a moment and sometimes it takes a little longer. Puzzle pieces, piecing it all together. Our final story, everything was in pieces. We go to 9/11. We go to Deputy Fire Chief Tommy Fox. He was called in, actually was there shortly after all the devastation. His job, cleanup. You had 2 huge piles of these former 100-plus story buildings. And now it was all rubble, and there were bodies in there, and a lot of them were firefighters. And their job was to find them, to take all the puzzle pieces, if you will, and have them removed, but to find the bodies along the way. So you had firefighters all over these 2 mounds taking things apart, and he was forever having people come up to him and say, that doesn't look safe over there. That could be shifting over there, or that's moving over there. Maybe we should get off these piles. And for the most part, he had to ignore them and just get the job done. But one day, there was this one day when he listened. Why did he listen this day to this guy?
No, I got there when the second tower collapsed. And the second plane hit after that. And the second plane that hit the towers, that's the first tower to collapse. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I got there just in there. It was full of it was like a snowstorm. It was so much stuff in the air, dust and flying all over the place. I got there just about that.
Yeah, you could hear the crack. I remember when we were watching, you could hear the crack, and when it all came down, that first building, which was the second one attacked.
Yeah.
But you were down there at that time.
Yeah, I was down there at that time. Just a car, it was like snowing, like a snowstorm, and it was all dirt. You know what I mean? We didn't even put masks on until the second day. I was a deputy chief. I was in charge of the trade center. For once every 4 days, I was in charge of the trade center.
During the cleanup part of it, if you will, and search part.
And truthfully, I wanted to be there. I wanted to try. At that time, at the beginning of it, there was, many, many firemen that were crushed and their families were begging to find their remains. You know what I mean? To me, that was a work of God too. I said, it was an honor for me to be down there finding the remains of these women and who had kids and stuff. It was very, very sad, but you can't believe how rewarding it was for these people to come there and find that their husband was found. They knew he was dead. But when they found their body, they were kind of elated. You know what I mean? It was a work of mercy. That's the way I felt about it, because they got some satisfaction out of it that way anyway,
A completion. Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's hard relating to when a building of that size comes down, the mound you guys were crawling around on. How many stories high?
It was, the building was 110, but after it fell down, it was about, I don't know, there was 2 piles, 2 separate buildings, and they were both about 160, 170 feet up in the air,
That you've got to crawl around on and piece by piece go through and cart away.
Yeah, and actually, we did that without tools either, without power tools, because we didn't want to stick a crane into a pile and have it pick up a couple of guys, you know what I mean? A couple of guys that were dead and then cut their body in half with a big piece of machinery or something like that,
So it was just hands.
Yeah. Pretty much by hand, yeah. As careful as they could, because they were looking for remains. They weren't looking for survivors now. Well, we were looking for remains of mostly firefighters. We had 343 guys died there. It's
Touched by Heaven is all about the miraculous and feeling God's hand and everything.
Yes, yes. The story in particular that I want to tell you is that this one particular time, there was pieces of steel still sticking in the ground up there, and one of the guys called me who was up there and said, "Hey, Chief, I'm not too happy with this. It doesn't look good to me. Going up there, I met an engineer. I don't know where he was from, to tell you the truth. I don't know his name or anything. He had a white hat on and a blue jacket. And he said to me, he said, are you the chief in charge here? And I said, yes, I am. He said, I'm Joe Blow, the engineer and I think I saw that piece of steel move, he said, because he had a surveyor, that's it, like a surveyor's instrument, to measure. So anyway, he said, look, so there was a bunch of guys up there, I'm going to say, firemen, I didn't want to get anybody hurt. So I said, all right, hold on. And I said, this guy's a pain in the ass. So I said, just in case, I called up there. A fire department had about 28, 29 guys up there. I said, listen, there was a battalion chief up there. I said to him, get all the guys up there. Get them all off the hill, the mountain debris. And it takes, to get that many guys off the pile, like that, it took a long time to get off. So I waited. I got all of them off the pile. And then I had to go somewhere. And as I got there, I was there about 20, 25 minutes. There was like a landslide right in that particular spot where that guy told me it was. And didn't the damn thing slide down? A mini landslide where these 20 or 25 guys all would have slid down the hill. Some would have been killed, some would have been hurt, some would have been this, Anyway, nobody got hurt from it. And I said, my God, that's a miracle. Let me get a hold of this guy and thank him. So I was at a spot where I could see everything. I couldn't find the guy at all. Never saw him again after that. Couldn't remember what his name was. I couldn't remember where he came from. And to me, that was God did that for me. So I just thank God that I got everybody off there. So I was just walking around praying for about 15 minutes, thanking God that. And I was surprised that all of the guys got down off the pile in that time. I said, get down off the pile. And, firemen they just want to go to work and work and work. And they don't want to leave the scene of anything, They want to. So I pretty much had to order them off, tell them, this is Chief Fox. Get all those guys off the pile because we're going to have it investigated. It looks like it's a dangerous situation. And then I came back and I was looking for the guy and I couldn't find him. That's my story with that. No, I'm a religious man. I'm 82 years old. I didn't die yet in the fire, so I already got my reward. So.
But you listened to him.
Yeah, I did. That's really. I'm kind of a thick-headed guy too. Like when I was down there for a lot of times, there was a lot of people coming up to me and say, "Hey, Chief, what about this? And what about that? And what about this? What about that?" And most of them didn't know what the hell they were talking about, And some of them I would listen to, some of them I wouldn't. But a civilian, what I said, what does this guy know about collapses and this and that? But he did, and he saved us a lot of trouble.
You listened to the guy for whatever reason, Holy Spirit, call it whatever you will, your angel, but
yeah.
You listened.
Yeah, I did. And then, I did. Then when it did collapse and after it, and I couldn't find the guy, I really knew he was an angel or something.
At the time, I didn't know it was an angel. Sometimes it takes a few seconds or minutes or days or months or years to go, oh, and this might get you looking back at your own life, at those moments where you went, wait a minute, you might have that had to be an angel, right? Great stories. Still need yours here at touchedbyheaven.net. And thank you so much for listening to, hey, maybe this is the first time you were here, just to hear angel stories. I absolutely need your stories. Can't do this without you. And need your support, too. And thank you for that. I want to thank everybody who, through all of these 400 episodes, anybody and everybody along the way who's helped contribute and supported what we do here. And if you would like to join the family, go to patreon.com, search for Trapper Jack, or just come here to this episode 400, and click your way through. Thank you so much. All right, see you next time here at Touched by Heaven, Everyday Encounters with God. 400 episodes. I'm Trapper Jack, and what to do with this big pile of episodes.
When they drop that, make sure you look the other way.